So, also a warm welcome from us to the WIRED Mobility 2015. My name is Bettina Bernhardt. I'm head of Audi Mobility and the Audi Business Innovation GmbH. And on my side is Nils Wollny, the head of digital business of Audi AG. So innovative fields, and we would like to take you on a ride through mobility of the future. Before we start with that, I would like to give a remark from both of us. We're talking about the future today, and we know that we face some challenges at the moment in the present, internally in the group, and the customers and the public is affected. I would like to apologize for that, give you a clear commitment that we have our highest priority on that, to solve those topics and to find the right solutions and to regain the customer trust. And at the same time, we will push the future topics, and that is our job in the company, and we will also push full throttle on that. But thank you also for our colleagues from WIRED that we, in this kind of cooperation, can have a close look of what is happening during the next years. So Nils, when we talk about future and future of mobility, I think you have an impressive clip for us, right?
Yes, thank you, Bettina. I'd like to start this part with a small video showing how the future of mobility could actually look like and how much fun it can be. So maybe you have a look at the guy on the passenger seat, how he enjoys our technology. Vorsprung durch Technik doesn't work.
Excellent. Yeah, now it works.
This video was taken a few weeks ago on a Barcelona racetrack. As you know, we have some prototypes on racetracks and roads testing autonomous driving. And a few people got the opportunity to drive or be a passenger in one of these cars, and I personally got the opportunity to do so. I tell you, that's so much fun riding in a car. It feels like a roller coaster. But why we show this is that basically the technology for autonomous driving or piloted driving, as we call it at Audi, is on its way, and it's moving really, really, really fast. So the technological development, we won't stress it today. We will more talk about how this impacts behavior and business, but what I wanted to say, the development is quite fast. Well, more or less, but of course there are different approaches to this topic, and as Google, they're testing their car in urban environments. We do the same thing, but this just showing you how broad this field is, moving on a racetrack, moving in urban environments, and meeting people that are not used to this kind of technology. Of course, there are many benefits to this technology, to this new technology. As I've shown you, it's a lot of fun. But another very, very important factor is that it makes driving safer. So 90% of all accidents on the road actually today are caused by human errors. So just because we have piloted driving, then at the end of the day, will hopefully erase many, many of these accidents and make our roads safer. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
I try to solve. You speak. I try to solve. Yeah, we did that, so we try now that it's...
So there are more benefits. So.
Yeah, now it works.
Oh,
Okay.
perfect. Thank you. So, of course, if you have a piloted driving technology, it also saves you time, because as a passenger, and there is no need to take control of the car, you can do other things, of course. It also brings more comfort to the passengers of such a car, because it reduces the stress level while driving in traffic or in environments that are pretty packed. So probably one day we can erase the term road rage from our dictionary, because autonomous cars will take over. It also increases the flexibility, because if you imagine having a smart grid of autonomously driving cars, this will reduce waiting times for on-demand mobility services. So the Columbia University estimated if you would, or calculated, if you would replace the 13,000 yellow cabs in New York City by 9,000 autonomous driving cars, this would reduce the waiting time from 5 minutes waiting for a cab down to 36 seconds. So it's not just less cars, it's also reducing the waiting time. So piloted driving increases the flexibility. And of course, it increases the efficiency too, because if the cars look ahead, if they communicate with each other, if they use the infrastructure in a better way, this of course increases not just energy efficiency, but also the efficiency in using space. So there are many, many advantages. But there's one, the time thing, I'd like to stress a little more, because today, in the Western world at least, we spend about 1 hour per day operating a car. So with the help of piloted driving, you would free this time and you would actually gain an extra hour you can use for other things. So we will probably do other things. We will use this time for connecting with our friends, consuming media, work. We did some studies on this, what people actually would do, and a fun fact, men would love to work, ladies would like to enjoy connecting with friends and entertainment stuff. But just if you look at this 1 hour that you basically gain each day, this would mean you increase, or there's a potential to increase visual media consumption by more than 10% each day. And this, of course, has a business impact, because looking at this fact, and there are many, many business models around that build on consuming media, using devices, and so on, this would have an impact on the business, on the current business, like it's existing. But if we go a step further, 95% of the day or the time a car remains unused. It's parked somewhere, it's not doing something. So with the help of autonomous driving technology, of course, our cars could do other things as well. So picking up furniture from IKEA and driving it somewhere else while you are at work. So your car is doing different jobs at the time. And of course, you could use this car, your own car, if it has a piloted driving technology, for peer-to-peer car sharing concepts. So the car could pick up other people, just stay in the traffic flow and picks you up once you're finishing work. So they'll do actually other things. And to put it in a nutshell, we strongly believe that piloted driving will become somewhat the heartbeat of our future economy, because it has such a huge impact on different industries, on different sectors, not just the automotive industry. But of course, first of all, it affects our industry we are currently working in. Because if you think about cars not having accidents anymore, you would use less spare parts. And this is quite a big business at the moment for the automotive industry. But cars not having accidents anymore would mean having less spare parts to sell. But it would go even further. Why not thinking about cars that are completely differently designed than our cars nowadays? This will affect the production. It will affect the sales volume. If you think about the facts in New York City not using 13,000 cabs anymore, just 9,000. So there's effect, of course, there's an effect on our industry. But there's an effect on other industries as well. If you look at the finance sector or the insurance sector, this will change dramatically because you will have different types of insurances than you have nowadays. Having less accidents means different types of insurances. And who do you insure? Do you insure the driver, or do you insure the vehicle or the system behind the vehicle? So this will change. But I'd like to illustrate some other industries or effects on industries as well. The travel industry. Why should I enter a train with 500 other people traveling back from Berlin to Ingolstadt if I could use my own space, entering the space, my car, and let me take the car back to Ingolstadt, and I'm totally in a private environment. So the piloted driving technology could disrupt industries like domestic flights. If you travel at almost the same speed than you travel today on an autobahn, and it's organized in a better way, so all the cars travel at 250 kilometers an hour, so that makes you quite fast going from Hamburg to Munich, for example. So it would take longer time to take the flight, going to the airport, taking the plane, and so on. So there's a potential to disrupt other industries. And the public sector, this is probably, it's not just one sector we'd like to partner with, but it's probably one of the most affected sectors because you have public transportation in cities today. There's a lot of space used for parking spaces. The infrastructure is made for our current traffic environment, but if you think about piloted cars, this might change completely. So in the public sector, this might free space that can be used otherwise, and space that can also improve the life in a city. And for example, today we see the effect that the shopping malls get a lot of public visitors outside the city. People don't go to the city center due to the parking situations. They prefer the malls outside the city. And in some parts of Germany, at least, this has a significant effect on city structure and income. But if you would have a smart mobility grid, people won't care. They will go to the most attractive areas again inside a city and enjoy the city in a much different way. So all I want to say, this technology has such a big impact on different fields. And one last thing we would like to point out is the effect on real estate space. Because on the one hand, you could say this technology can also bring retail space to the people where they are. So there is no need to go to the city center, but if you would like to do so, the space can be used in a totally different way, and it's not wasted for parking houses anymore, or if there are parking houses, they can be used in a much more efficient way because automatic cars or piloted cars can park closer to each other. The space can be used in a much more efficient way. So this has a very, very positive impact. That's at least what we think on our urban environments like we see it today. And transport and logistics, that's a very, very much talked about topic already. Our colleagues from Uber are here today, so if you have piloted cars steered by a platform, of course this has an impact on the cab business like it's today, but it will blur the lines between rental cars, mobility services, taxis, and so on. So there is a huge impact, and also with delivering goods. We all know that retailers like Amazon, they try to shorten the last mile of delivery of goods, same-day delivery. With this technology, it can be performed in a very, very good way in the future. So, yeah, there are huge effects on this area as well. But it goes way beyond this. So maybe, Bettina, you'll tell us a little bit more about what else is coming up.
Yeah. Thank you, Nils. So autonomous driving is one of the big pillars of the future of mobility. There are many steps in between, because it will change, as Nils said, the whole way the driving works. So in general, what we have to do is to think much more beyond the car. And I would like to show you what that could mean. The changes for us are quite big, because you just imagine, as a traditional car manufacturer, it's the driving of a car is always linked with the ownership. So people buy, finance, or lease a car. And if mobility becomes more flexible, or we have autonomous cars in the future, this will affect our core business and the value chain we work in. So what did we do already to take steps into that future is, first of all, we try to get in contact with a growing customer group that doesn't stick to owning a car, to drive a car. So that means sharing is the new buzzword. And I think we're here today with different companies also to discuss how that could look like in the future, but it clearly changes the way of having access to mobility. Additionally, the car becomes more and more part of a bigger service. That sounds a little bit, let's say, banal. I don't know how to say in English. But it's a big step, because if you just imagine, if you have a car, everyone who owns a car, it's mostly linked to many things you have to do by yourself. That will change in the future. And additionally, the service becomes more and more important, and also the reason to decide for companies or cars or services in general. So a big step, and we got prepared with 5 projects and products we developed during the last years and brought to life in different countries. And I would like to show you what we are doing at the moment in the US, in Sweden, and in Germany. So first of all, one product is Audi at home. And if we talk about sharing and service, this is one step to give mobility to people who are used to live together in condominiums in the US. We start with Miami and San Francisco. So people who are used to share things get also a car and an app, and they can book cars which are placed in the basement just for the time they need the car. For us, as a premium manufacturer, car plays, or models play a role that are from an A8, but mainly up to the upper segment until an R8. So everything is included, but you have right on your fingertip access to mobility. The next project is Audi On Demand. Yeah, now it comes. Also in the US, in San Francisco, we place a fleet there, and people can register and download an app and book the car of their choice out of a really big fleet. All our models are included, and they get the car delivered to the place they want and use it for the time they want. 1 day, 2 days, 4 weeks. So we offer also a very seamless process. Everything is included, and you just take 1 day maybe a Q7, next day an A3, how you need it. Audi Unite is a product we brought to the Swedish market in Stockholm. It's a micro-sharing of cars. In general, it's the first step into car sharing, because what we normally name as car sharing is a micro-rental concept, because I don't know who drove the car before. And this is a community-based car sharing, so up to 5 people can share a car, they share the cost, and they share also the possibility to drive the car when they need the car, exactly. The next project in Germany is Audi Shared Fleet. So we give there the sharing concept to the companies. That means fleet cars, which are or have car sharing technology inside, can be shared not only within the company, but the company gives the employees the chance to drive privately the car and to pay a certain amount for the usage, which is definitely lower than on the market. But the employer becomes a new mobility provider to the employees. Very interesting concept, because also there many people will have access to cars, which is in other, let's say, other terms, much more complicated. So the last project is Audi Select, also live in the German market, and has a different concept because you share cars, but you own it for some months. That means you have the possibility to drive within 1 year up to 3 models you like. A convertible in summer, a Q7 in winter. And you choose, pick and choose out of the model range, and you pay per month. Everything is included, and you can select what you need. And after 1 year, you can change again to the product you like. So quite interesting from our perspective. We learn a lot together with the customers, together with the regions, and we take much more steps in the future. To realize that, and I think it's not a surprise, we founded a daughter company, a much smaller company, Audi Business Innovation GmbH, based out of Munich, because we had to leave the big ship of the group to be quicker and to concentrate on topics we are normally not working on in our core business. So that started 2 years ago, and we have some very good experience with that. We also operate the services internationally with this GmbH, but we think about what we want to develop, and we have the whole chain in our hands. What we also do within the company, and that is a project of Nils, is the way of how people and customer can experience the car. And I mention that because we brought that to you over there in one of these boxes. You can later test virtual reality goggles, where you can dive into the car experience, which is also a new dimension in, let's maybe say, the showroom of the future and the car experience of the future. So we would like to invite you later to have a look at that. And what we need, and that's also the reason why we are here, we talk, especially with a smaller company, the GmbH, we collaborate a lot. So that means all what we plan to do and the way we want to go into the future of mobility, we need partners. And we would like to discuss that also during the day with you, to dive deeper into the mobility you see and experience and our view, and come together and let something come to life that will be quite interesting for us all. What we already do is we collaborate with the cities, a very important part, because normally we face some challenges there due to space for parking and driving. And we integrate our mobility strategy in the discussion with urban planners, architects, and those who look to solve some problems within cities. So we have a nice team in place, and we installed the Audi Urban Future Award, an initiative. And my colleagues are also there. You will see more details on that also in one of those boxes. But since some years, we work together with the bigger cities and architects to bring ideas to life that are much more and further in the future. So apart from cities, we need also discussions in the infrastructure field. That is quite clear. If you just think not about autonomous driving, but about the way the car works, it needs speed, and that means it needs something to get it from. And e-mobility, for example, charging stations is just one clear example how we need to bring together infrastructure and us as a car manufacturer. So close collaboration in that field is the clear target. And if that works, doesn't.
No, it is.
It's there, great. Data is the next topic. I think it's not a surprise, where digitalization changes our business, as we just showed, because it's all about digital in a very quick way. So we collaborate in that field also very strongly with own expertise, but also getting to know how data helps us to make the driving safer, to make autonomous driving possible itself, because otherwise it wouldn't work. We need a high amount of data that flows, so we need also a car that is able to have data connection and to send data. So, I'm too quick or it is too slow? Yeah. And
it is too slow.
Another topic, we try to collaborate to move to the moon. That is also something you will see over there. We have an Audi Luna Quattro concept. That is the little car you see there. And until the end of 2017, we want, together with a part-time scientist, to bring that little, I call it car, maybe it's wrong. Vehicle, yeah, right, to the moon and drive at least 500 meters. It's a competition, the Google Luna X Prize competition. And we have 2 years' time. And yeah, I think it will work out. So Audi to the moon. Over there, more information to that topic. I hope you like it. So, we come to an end. Saying thank you again for the nice collaboration with the team. We hope to have interesting discussions today, to learn more about mobility from your side, and we would like to invite you also to contact us to discuss the topics today. There are many colleagues from our side here also to answer your questions and yeah, to get in communication. Looking forward to that, and thank you very much for giving us the chance to speak.
Thank you.
So we have the opportunity for a couple of questions. If there's anything that you would like to ask Bettina and Nils, then just raise your hands and I will jump over to you. There's a question.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That was very fascinating. I'm Moritz von Laffert from Condé Nast. I've got 2 questions. First, you said by 2017 you'll be on the moon. What's your time frame for the sort of wider vision of autonomous driving? Personally, I can't wait for this to happen. But what's sort of the time frame? And the second question is, how do you sort of manage the process internally? You spoke about the business innovation unit, but how do you convey the vision into your business? I mean, into the sort of the, I mean, you're obviously like a legacy company, and I know from own experience there's a lot of fear and a lot of resistance sometimes in such companies. How do you sort of get this vision into your organization? Thank you.
Maybe I start with the last question. It's partly difficult to answer because we don't have a rule how it should work, that it works. The connection between a smaller substitute and the mother company. What we did, we have a mixture of people coming from external other branches, and we took those innovative guys out of the headquarter, and we brought them together. And therefore, now I see, not anymore, that works quite well, because we have some people who built the bridge to the headquarter, and to take people with them on the trip to new steps of mobility. But definitely you have to spend some attention on that fact.
And the second question,
you want to answer?
Yeah, maybe to add something to this, and of course it has a lot to do with people. So what kind of people work in corporate structures? So we do a lot of effort to get the right people either to Audi or to connect with them. So that's honestly, this is one of the reasons why we are here today, to connect with the digital minds, with smart mobility minds, to see how we can change this culture. Because we take this culture shift at Audi, we take it serious. So what we said at the beginning, we really take this serious. So maybe this, to add this. And to your first question, you'll experience this technology partly in the next Audi A8 that will be out 2017. So this has already piloted functions, and the rest depends currently on government. Where are we allowed to test these cars? Currently we are testing them on the A9 between Ingolstadt and Nuremberg on real roads, but this has a lot to do with yeah, let's say, legislative issues. Also insurance topics have to be answered, but they're not as difficult as you might think, but there are a few formalities that have to be solved. But we expect, yeah, partly autonomous driving in a broader range 2020. So I can't wait it. I can't wait to, since I experienced it myself, I can't wait to have it on a real road. Ready.
You tell us a bit about the experience, Nils. So, what was the feeling like to be sitting in a race car, actually, and
fucking
no one
awesome.
is driving?
Sorry, no, it's really like a roller coaster, but it's without boundaries, because you're on a real racetrack and you just sit on the passenger seat. Nobody sits on the driver's seat. Of course, there need to be an engineer in there for security reasons that is able to stop the car in case something goes wrong. But it's really, you're on an open road, and you always think, I would brake now. I really would brake now, and it doesn't. And it takes the ideal line on this racetrack, and honestly, it's hard to beat if you drive yourself. Mm-hmm. You would do some things differently, but it's so smooth. It's very, very exciting. I didn't expect it to be so exciting.
And how's the feeling then on an Autobahn? I mean, you're not racing there, but you have just the other cars on the street. And what is the difference then compared to normal driving?
I think it's more strange for the other people's driving on the Autobahn if you wave at them and pass them. So, but it's similar to it, but it's more smooth. It's not at that race speed, of course, and it feels really controlled.
The interesting thing is, after 2 or 3 minutes, many people, or most of them, start to do something else.
Yeah, and this is actually one of the challenges.
Looking at their smartphones, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but that's one of the challenges we have to solve. How do we get the people back to attention once they have to take over the steering wheel again? Because until we have fully autonomous fleets, it's still some time down the road, but until then we need solutions, how they change behavior, adapt to this technology. Yeah.
So our first session then after your talk will be on data-driven mobility. You mentioned this topic briefly. Can you explain us a bit more on how much you rely on data in the cities with your services?
Now, in general, everything is data-based, so it's only possible to book a car via app if you have the connection to the service, but also the connection to the app, to the car. Sorry, and this is a clear example. It only works with data. The car just recognizes and builds up its own intelligence to solve traffic situations. I think it's hard to mention an area where you don't need data, to be honest.
And the cars produce a lot of data. Once they're autonomous driving on the road, or even today, they're producing a lot of data, and you can use this data for other purposes. So you can basically give this data to cities to know where the roads aren't in a good condition, so they know where to fix them. So there's, it's not just for the driving experience, it's also the data that the car is producing. You can use it for other purposes as well.
And how far then Audi is transforming into a software company?
In general, we are already, because if you just look under the what is Motorhaube nochmal?
Under the hood.
It's not only about engine anymore. It's about electronics. So since years, kilometers of data connections are placed within the car. So we are already. The separation of hardware and software is the main target, because the hardware, let's say the car has a development of 5 to 7 years itself. So the chassis and everything, and the whole content. And software, it's much quicker, and the development happens much faster. So we need a separation in that field, exactly. For an OEM, not so easy.
Okay, thank you very much, Bettina. Thank you very much, Nils. This is your applause, and thank you for opening this
Thank you.
conference.